proceed with the consideration of the outcome of the United Republic of Tanzania based on the report of the Working Group on Universal Periodic Review of Tanzania and its addendum. These documents, together with the additional information that will now be provided by the United Republic of Tanzania, will constitute the outcome of the review and shall be adopted by the Council through a standardized decision. I now have the pleasure to give the floor to Honorable Mr. George Simbachawene, Minister of Constitutional and Legal Affairs, to present additional information on the review. Excellency, you have the floor.
Madam Vice President, I'm honored to address the Human Rights Council on this occasion of the adoption of the outcome of our third Universal Periodic Review, and I convey salutations from Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania. I also bring warm regards from the people and the government of the United Republic of Tanzania. It is always a special occasion to engage with the Human Rights Council, and we are delighted to be approaching the end of the review of the United Republic of Tanzania. This is always a rewarding time as we then start preparations to implement the recommendations we have accepted, which we believe will significantly contribute towards the promotion and protection of the human rights in the United Republic of Tanzania. The United Republic of Tanzania is a strong proponent of the Universal Periodic Review mechanism, which brings together state actors, the Parliament, the Judiciary, the National Human Rights Institution, civil society, and development partners as we pursue a common goal, which is the realization of human rights for all Tanzanians. Madam Vice President, in November 2021, the United Republic of Tanzania's third national report was considered by the Human Rights Council, and we were encouraged by the number of member states which participated in our review. 92 delegations made statements, and we received a total of 252 recommendations. I would like to thank once again all the member states and observers of the Human Rights Council for their active contribution to a fruitful dialogue on the performance of the United Republic of Tanzania under the third review cycle. During the consideration, we initially accepted to implement 108 recommendations, noted 132, and deferred 12 recommendations. I wish to assure you that the recommendations were given the highest consideration, as all 252 recommendations were disseminated to state and non-actors, including the National Human Rights Institution, as well as civil society, for their views in both Tanzania mainland and Zanzibar. As a result, for the broad-based consultation, the United Republic of Tanzania has accepted to implement 167 recommendations, of which 20 recommendations are accepted with the partial support. The state has also noted 65 recommendations. Madam Vice President, the 167 recommendations we have accepted to implement are those in compliance with the Constitution of the United Republic of Tanzania and the Constitution of Zanzibar. These are recommendations also aligned with our policies, laws, and programs which call for the promotion and protection of civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights, emerging human rights issues, anti-corruption efforts, environmental conservation, and our development priorities. The accepted recommendations have been divided into thematic areas relating to international obligations, the national human rights framework, equality and non-discrimination, development matters, the environment, business and the human rights, the rights to life, liberty, and the security of persons, administration of justice, prohibition of slavery, privacy and family life, the right to adequate standard of living, the right to health, the right to education, women's empowerment, children's rights, the rights of persons with disabilities, elderly rights, fundamental freedoms, and the right to participate in political affairs, as well as the right of refugees and asylum seekers. Madam Vice President, I would like to point out that among the final accepted recommendations are recommendations previously noted or deferred. The broad-based consultation within the government and the views from stakeholders led to accepting recommendations on the following matters. 1, the age of marriage. During the consideration of our national report, we noted all recommendations with regard to amending the Law of Marriage Act of 1971 to make the age of marriage 18 for both men and women. I am pleased to inform you that the state has been implementing the Court of Appeal decision to amend the Law of Marriage Act 1971 with regard to the age of marriage, and these recommendations have all been accepted. Second is the entry policy for pregnant schoolgirls. We all noted recommendation to allow pregnant schoolgirls to continue with their education after giving birth. I am again pleased to inform you that the entry policy was issued on the 24th November 2021. Therefore, schoolgirls who had to curtail their studies after falling pregnant are now able to resume their studies in the formal education system. These recommendations have now all been accepted. Third is the freedom of information and the right to political participation. We again noted several recommendations to amend the Media Services Act of 2016 and other laws regarding the freedom of expression and the right to political participation. Although consultations are ongoing with regard to the full range of acts proposed for amendment to appeal and repeal, we have accepted all the recommendations to amend the Media Services Act of 2016 in order to enhance freedom of expression and the right to information. Efforts to further promote and protect the right to information and the freedom of expression include reopening of online televisions which had been closed, as well as the reduction of their registration fees. Further, newspapers' licenses which had been revoked have been reissued based on the understanding that there will be compliance with the country's laws regulating media freedoms and the media houses. Regulations are also being developed to regulate holding of rallies by political parties as part of efforts to enhance the right to participate in political affairs. Madam Vice President, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania would like to affirm its commitment towards implementing all the accepted recommendations which are deemed strategic and effective interventions towards the promotion and protection of human rights. The government is equally committed to implement the 20 recommendations it has accepted with partial support. Madam Vice President, there are 65 noted recommendations. These are recommendations that are not in alignment with our Constitution's policies, laws, traditions, beliefs, and culture, or which require further consultation before making a conclusive decision. These include recommendations pertaining to people with the same-sex relations. The government strives to ensure that all Tanzanians are provided with equal civil, political, economic, social, and cultural human rights. However, some same-sex relations continue to be prohibited in our penal statutes and are against our traditions, customs, and beliefs. We also received recommendations to abolish the death penalty, as well as still remain the death penalty in our statutes for only serious offenses such as murder, manslaughter, and treason. We are unable to commit to abolition of the death penalty. Regardless, the state has not executed the death penalty in over 29 years, as there is a de facto moratorium on application of the death penalty. However, we accepted the recommendation to continue to hold consultation on the death penalty. We received also recommendations on revising the criminal justice framework to prosecute perpetrators of attacks and killings of persons with albinism. The dark saga of attacks and killings of the persons with albinism in Tanzania has significantly declined and is no longer a national calamity. This was largely due to the existing legal framework which has been used to successfully prosecute and convict perpetrators for various offenses against persons with albinism, including murder, trafficking, kidnapping, and assault. Therefore, there is no real need to revise the criminal justice model, which has proven to be effective. We also received the recommendation for a standalone gender-based violence law. As our penal laws have been sufficiently addressing the various offenses which are considered gender-based violence, we are unable to commit to a single law at this juncture. However, this is an area where discussions will continue to be held. We also received recommendations to revoke the Local Customary Law Declaration Order, GN number 436 of 1963 Act. Indeed, this act is being reviewed by the Law Reform Commission of Tanzania, and we are waiting for the outcomes of the review for the direction on whether to revoke the law in its entirety or if it is better to amend sections of the law. We received a recommendation to repeal the Non-Government Organization Act Amendment Regulation of 2018. However, as the regulations were developed to provide for financial transparency and accountability of the NGOs in utilizing funds obtained from the donors, we are unable to repeal the regulations at this juncture. However, the government is open to discussions and views on regulation. We also received the recommendation to review non-bailable offenses from our laws. We do have non-bailable offenses in our criminal statutes. However, the government does not condone selective application of the non-bailable offenses. This is another area discussions can be held. As the UPR is a continuous process, the government will continue to engage in dialogue with the stakeholders on the notable recommendations which require further consultation. Madam Vice President, as we enter to the next phase of the UPR mechanism, which is implementation of the recommendation we have accepted, we look forward for support and collaboration in the following key national priority areas as mentioned in our national report. 1, completion and implementation of a second national human rights action plan. 2nd, submission of state part report to the relevant committees. 3rd, increased provision and coverage of legal aid and access to justice. 4th, translation of existing laws and regulations from English to Swahili. 5th, effective use of technology in the promotion of the right to development. 6th, embarking on a national campaign for promotion and human and people's rights and duties. And the 7th is implementing the 3rd National 5-Year Development Plan in line with the Development Vision 2025, the Agenda 2030, and the Agenda 2063 that the Africa we want in respect of human and people's rights. In conclusion, Madam Vice President, I would like to reaffirm the United Republic of Tanzania's commitment to the Universal Periodic Review mechanism. Our position has always been to utilize the UPR process in consideration of the government's role as the main duty bearer in the promotion and protection of human rights. I thank you. Asante sana, Madam Vice President.
Excellency, thank you.